Our research questions how legal regulations on fashion evolved from Renaissance sumptuary laws to modern fast fashion regulations, and what impact have these laws had on society, economy, and gender. Our thesis statement is fashion laws have evolved from Renaissance sumptuary rules, strictly tied to class and appearance, to modern regulations focused on sustainability, labor rights, and consumer safety. These laws have shaped social hierarchies, economic systems, and gender norms by controlling access to fabric, colors, and styles.
In Renaissance Europe, sumptuary laws were used to separate classes and define morality. According to a person's wealth or position, these restrictions strictly regulate accessories, colors, and textiles. Lower classes were forbidden from wearing certain colors. Women were judged by modesty. For instance, purple, a color connected to royalty and created using expensive dyes, was forbidden by law in England. It was only worn by high nobility and members of the royal family. Additionally, lower classes were prohibited from wearing silk or velvet among other textiles. Regardless of class, women were subjected to harsh criticism if they wore clothing that was excessively provocative or above their station.
Today, formal laws have faded, but invisible rules remain. In schools, on the streets, and particularly in the workplace, what we wear still invites criticism. These unwritten rules might influence how people perceive us, particularly in official contexts like job interviews. Two young people apply for the same job in a single interview. They are not treated equally despite having similar qualifications and previous experience because of their clothes. This demonstrates how, even in the absence of formal legislation, fashion continues to produce social divisions. People's perceptions of our character, worth, and position in society are still influenced by the clothes we wear.
In the past, the economy and fashion laws were closely linked. To maintain social order and protect local enterprises, governments imposed restrictions on what citizens could wear. Only the highest classes could afford pricey textiles like silk. Silk could not be purchased by lower-class individuals when they went to the tailor. It was forbidden by the law. Clothes were an obvious sign of social standing and money.
Today, things are different. Silk clothing is more widely available and more reasonably priced. The cost of silk and related textiles has decreased as a result of mass production and international trade. Having access to silk fabric is no longer a symbol of class difference. However, the fashion industry still has problems. Fast fashion businesses create clothing quickly and cheaply by using low-cost labor and dangerous working conditions. In developing nations, women make up the majority of these workers. Although consumers benefit from low pricing, environmental harm and worker abuse are the hidden costs. Laws regarding sustainability, worker rights, and production transparency have begun to be introduced by several governments, although they are still insufficient.
Gender norms have long been enforced through fashion. To reflect and uphold traditional gender standards, clothing choices were tightly restricted in many countries. For instance, women were not permitted to wear trousers in France in the 18th century. Women who did ran the risk of being fined and arrested. This was an obvious attempt to limit and regulate women's social roles by making them uphold a specific standard of propriety and femininity. Conversely, men were supposed to dress with strength and dignity. Rigid dress regulations served to support the traditional image of masculinity, while femininity was frequently repressed and even punished.
As we move forward in time, gendered fashion standards still influence how people are viewed and treated. Women still face harsh social judgments for their clothing. In public places, wearing revealing clothing or short skirt might result in criticism, discrimination, or bullying. Women who wear short skirts could be viewed as too provocative or unprofessional at work. Because they don't conform to stereotypically masculine standards, men who wear pink clothing may be criticized or rejected. Transgender or non-binary people face additional difficulties. They must continuously negotiate a setting that challenges their identity because their fashion choices are frequently misinterpreted or misunderstood. The cultural policing of gender through fashion is still a major global concern, despite the emergence of some legislative protections and the challenges to dress rules. These criticisms extend beyond attire. They uphold strict gender norms that restrict individuality and freedom of expression.
In conclusion, fashion has long been used to define gender roles, behavior, and social class. Sumptuary laws were established during the Renaissance to restrict what people could wear according to their social status. Although these stringent laws are no longer in effect, fashion still shapes society and individual identity. The fast fashion industry has caused issues for workers, particularly in developing nations, and gender-based clothing judgments still exist. As a result, fashion continues to influence how people are perceived and shape society.